All right, Shabbos, good morning. Let's begin. Thank you for the coffee, Saint. Thank you. Picking up on page Kuf Chaf Beis, paragraph Yud Aleph. V'hinei, we actually read this line yesterday. V'hinei kimoshe tzarech b'masim, kach tzarech nikiyos b'midos. In the same way that one requires nikiyos in one's actions, one also requires nikiyos in one's midos. Remember again, the whole notion of the midah of nikiyos teaches us about a certain level of attentiveness that we need towards our actions, because sometimes the negative behaviors of life have so many different tentacles and appendages that if you're not attentive, it's easy to transgress. So here the Ramchal says what is true in a behavioral fashion with maisim is also true with midos, with character traits. Ukimat sheyoser kashu hu anikiyas b'midos mimashu b'maasim. That was a very profound statement. And the truth is, it is more difficult to go ahead. It is more difficult to go ahead and actualize the midah of nikiyas with midos, with your character traits, than it is with your maisim, than it is with your actions. Which I will say, in and of itself, is not a surprise, because we all know it is easier to change a behavior than it is to change a character trait. That's for sure. Ki ateva poel b'midos yoser mimashu poel b'maisim. Because a person's nature very often impacts his midos much more than his nature impacts his actions. Ya'an ha'mezeg v'atechuna heim omesayim omesnagdim gidolim lahem. In general, my temperament and my disposition could either be incredibly helpful with my midos or could really be incredibly detrimental. V'chol milchama shineged nitiyas hateva milchama chazaki. And I both say a lot of times the midos that I have are a result of the temperament and disposition that I possess. My teva, my nature. And I both say, so again, one of the things we believe in Yiddishkeit is that at the end of the day, your nature may be a certain way, but you may need to nurture your nature to be a bit different. It's just because I'm born, also we accept this idea that I may be born with certain dispositions, proclivities, and feelings, but at the end of the day, lav dafka, that I don't have to work on that. So we're all born like that. So that's the Mechaber says, that's why changing a behavior, behavioral modification, behavior is much easier to regulate because it's something external. When you want me to work on my midos, that's much more difficult because often that's tied into the very dispositions and nature that I am born with. So to change something that I am hardwired with, or hardwired is the wrong word, but to change something that I have a natural predisposition to is much more difficult. Possible, but much more difficult. Top of Kuf Chaf Gimel, Ezehu Gibor, who is strong, Hakovesh Es Yitzro. So we'll say, so what does that statement mean? What that statement means, Kovesh Es Yitzro, we'll say, whenever we see the word Yetzer, we often assume that it refers to desires and wants, but the truth is Yetzer just means your disposition. Right? This is my nature. So who is a Gibor, who is strong? One who is Kovesh Es Yisro, a person who is able to capture his predispositions, his proclivities, and his nature. Gvura is expressed in the ability to change. I have a Yetzer. Again, I will say, remember, Yetzer, we often assume Yetzer means always Yetzer, parentheses, hara. Right? Yetzer ultimately just means my nature. Gvura, strength, is expressed in the ability to rein in, and yes, sometimes even change your nature. V'hinei, hamidos hin rabos. I will say there are many different character traits. Ki kafi kala pa'ulos sheshayacham la'adam ba'olam. Kimo ke'in midosein shacharein hu nimshach ba'ulosa. So we'll say the same way that there are so many different types of actions. There are also, and every action creates different realities. Every action ultimately is often rooted in some other type of midah. Amnam, kimoshe di barna b'mitzos, shahaya hatzarach li nakos ba yoser. Supposed to, just like we saw when it comes to mitzos and averos, that one has to be very careful. And the midah of nikiyos says, be vigilant about your actions. Watch what you're doing, because so many times even the things you think are okay and innocuous, in fact, are not. He goes on, he says, Kain nedaber b'midos harashios ba'arichus ion yoser mipnei regilosenu bam. So we'll remember again. So what did we do on the actional level? On the actional level, the Mechaber pointed out certain averos that have so many different appendages, and therefore, as a result, people almost end up inevitably transgressing. Right? So we spoke about, again, Lashon Hara, we spoke about immorality, we spoke about sheker, we spoke about theft. So, and then remember, after the Mechaber goes through that list and kind of focuses exhaustively on each of those things, what does the Mechaber say? By the way, this is only the major ones. But the truth is, conceptually, this idea of making mistakes with the smaller appendages and branches of Averos is a din ultimately, again, that applies to many different Averos. So we're going to do the same thing now with Midos. We're going to speak about some major Midos, which ultimately we struggle with, and then we're going to apply that even to smaller ideas as well. So what are the major Midos that we have to focus on? Gaiva, arrogance, gaiva, arrogance, kas, anger, kina, jealousy, taiva, desire or lust. So I will say these are the midos, says the Ramchal, we're going to focus on. Hein kol eila midos raos. So we'll say, okay, everyone will agree. Here's the good news. If there's one thing we will agree on, this list, gaiva, kas, kina, taiva, not good. Fine. That's good. Always good to agree on something. Nikaris move for some. So I will say this is known. This is known and obvious to all. In tzarach larayas, the truth is we don't need any proofs to this. Kihine raos hina ba'asman v'raos b'toldosein. Because I say we know it. All of us know, because the truth is, as we're going to see, we all struggle with some element or some derivative of these negative traits, and we all have seen, experienced either in ourselves or seeing it in others, the destructive nature of these midos. Kikulon chutz mishuras haseichal v'achachma. This is actually a very profound statement. All of these midos are outside of the realm of the seichel, right, of intellect and chachma and wisdom. Rabbi say, in other words, what does that mean? All of these things, gaiva, kas, kina, taiva, are all counterintuitive. They're all counterintuitive. They do not make sense. These are not the type of midos, ultimately, again, that will help me obtain my goals in life, which I will say is quite a profound statement. Because what the Mechaber ultimately is saying over here is that there are certain things in life that are terribly detrimental. And intellectually and conceptually, I know they're detrimental. Yet for some reason, I often have difficulty stopping myself. For some reason, I often have difficulty just hitting the brakes on it, and yet it takes control. An incredible idea. He goes on, he says, V'chol achos kedai la'atzma lahavi es ha'adam el averos chamuros. And I'm going to say each of these things on their own. These are gateway midos, right? Gateway midos that at the end of the day, unfortunately, living with these midos opens the door and paves the way for a variety of different levels of detrimental behavior. So we'll stop over here for today. But I just want to, so next week we'll really get, this is a very important section. We're going to get into exploring the negative midos that exist. But I'll tell you something really amazing, which is the way that Ramchal defines ultimately a negative midah is how something that is chutz mishuras haseichel v'hachachma. See, Rabbi say, if you notice, by the way, the common denominator of gaiva, kas, kina, and taiva is what? They're all states of being where emotion totally overruns intellect, right? Wherever you let your emotions run away with you, and intellect is nowhere to be seen, that is a recipe for disaster. That's what Ramchal is saying. Chutz mishuras haseichel v'achachma. Doesn't make sense to be jealous of someone, right? You must say, why doesn't it make sense? Because that same energy that I'm going to use to be jealous, I'll work harder. All right, I don't have to be jealous. I'll put in that effort. Same thing with gaiva, kas, kina, taiva. All of these different things, I will say, right? All of these different midos, they're chutz mishuras haseichel v'achachma. They make no sense. They're emotions out of whack. And the moment that happens is the moment that a person gets themselves into such serious trouble in life. All right, we'll stop here. We'll pick up here with this section on Monday. I'm sorry. So Akiva Kalman is gonna give. I don't know, what do you think? Well, we'll talk. We could decide afterwards. All right, Shabbos, say good morning. We have an incredible daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Chaf Gimel. We are picking up on Chaf Beis Amud Beis. Chaf Beis Amud Beis. So we'll say, so our shir this morning is dedicated by our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Cheshvan, Adam and Yehudi Ben Zev, in Ilui Nishmas Moshe David Ben Shalom, in honor of Adam's grandmother Helen Nachman, his parents Eli and Judy Ben Zev, for serving as incredible role models. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu grant them arichos yamim v'shanim. And I will say with that, let us begin. So we are picking up, we left off, bottom of Chav Beis Amud Beis, and we left off, I believe, right. Good. My muf. So I think we left off my mufne gabi behema, which is 2, 4, 6, 8 lines up from the bottom. So if you remember again, in yesterday's daf, we were discussing the idea that the last piece of the Mishnah, which was hamapelas kimin behema, if a woman miscarries something that has the appearance of an animal. So if you remember again, in this case, the Mishnah said, Tanakama said that she's Timeah. Rabbi Meir said that if there's no tsuras havlad, if the whatever is being expelled does not have a human form, she's not Timeah Leda. So we were discussing what's the svara of the Rabbanon. So very simply, it was a Gzeir Shava. A Gzeir Shava of Vayitzer, between people, between man, the creation of man, and the creation of animals. So because of this connection, ultimately again the Rabbanon rule that if she expels something that looks like an animal, she is Tameh Tumas Leda. The Gemara then asked, but I don't understand, why don't you make a Gzeir Shava ultimately from man to Taninim, to large sea creatures, to which the Gemara essentially explained because the Gzeir Shava doesn't work. Why not? Because it's not mufne. We'll say it's not open. So the Gemara says, here we go. So the Gemara says, Gabi Taninim eina mufne. My mufne, Gabi behema. We'll say, what does it mean that it's mufne by behema? Ilema, midich sivayas elokim es chayas haaretz, uksiv vayitzer Hashem elokim min ha'adam kol chayas hasadeh, Gabi Tanin. Nami afnuye mufne. By sea animals, by sea creatures. It's also mufne. I will say mufne means that the word is open, available for a drasha, and not used for anything else. So the Gemara says, by tanin, you could also see it. Tichsiv, ve'es kol remes ha'adam oksiv, vayiver lekim es ha'taninim agdolim, remes tichsiv hasam diabashu. Both say to which the Gemara is because the remes that is written over there is referring to sea creatures. So I'll say, so remember again, what is an nafkamina? What is the practical difference with making a Gzeir Shava, where one side of the Gzeir Shava is open, is mufna, and the other is not, versus a Gzeir Shava, where the words are open on both sides. Nafkamina don Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shmuel, who says as follows: Kol Gzeir Shava shein mufna kolikar ein lemeid lenemer. We'll say any Gzeir Shava which is not open at all, which I will say means that any Gzeir Shava any situation where you find two words or two phrases in two different contexts, but those words and phrases are used for something else already, ultimately, again, that is not a valid Gzeir Shava. You can't use that. We'll say what happens if one side is open and the other side is not. The Rabbi Shmuel, the main Devei Mashiv, and according to Rabbi Shmuel, this is a bona fide Gzeir Shava, and you can't refute it. The Rabbana Lameidinu Mashivan. According to the Rabbana, however, you could use it, but ultimately, again, it can be refuted. But yet, Mufta Mishneit Stadin. But I will say, if the Gzeir Shava is open on both sides, then what? Divrei Hakol Lameidin Ve'in Mashivan. Everyone agrees that if the Gzeir Shava is open on both sides, the limud is good and cannot be refuted. Rabbi Shmuel, ma'ika be'mufna mitzad echad mufna mishnei tzadin. According to Rabbi Shmuel, what's the chilik between a Gzeir Shava that is mufna mitzad echad versus mishnei tzadin? They both say if at the end of the day, according to Rabbi Shmuel, even if it's mufna mitzad echad, it can't be refuted. What's the chilik? Nafkamina heichad di'ika mufna mitzad echad umufna mishnei tzadin. Shafkina mufna mitzad echad, top of the Chaf Gimel, v'afina mufna mishnei tzadin. So what's according to Rabbi Shmuel, if you have a choice between a Gzeir Shava that is mufna mitzad echad and a Gzeir Shava that is mufna mishnei tzadin, you will choose the Gzeir Shava that is mufna mishnei tzadin. Ulahachi afnei rachmana lebehema mishnei tzadin. Therefore, I will say the Torah purposely leaves out, or I should say, the Torah purposely structures the Gzeir Shava between man and behema, the words vayivra or vayitzer are open on both sides to teach you that what? Nigmar min mufna mitzad echad. So both say, so such Rabbi Meir says as follows, that halacha l'mais you have two gzera shavas. There is a gzera shava ultimately again between Adam and behema and between Adam and taninim. What's the nafkamina between the two? Between the two is that the gzera shava between man and Adam is mufna mishnei tzadin, and by taninim mufna mitzad echad. Therefore, when there is a choice, I will go with the gzera shava that is mufna mishnei tzadin. I will learn out Adam from behema, or I should say behema from Adam, and ultimately again not learn out taninim ultimately from Adam. Good. And therefore, I will say, therefore again yielding the reality according to Rabbi Meir that if a woman expels something that looks like a behema, she'll be tamei tumas leida. But if she expels something that looks like a tanin, like a sea creature, she will not go ahead and be tamei tumas leida. Ravacha b'rei Rava masnila mishmei de Rabbi Elazar lekula. So Ravacha b'rei Rava interpreted this statement according to Rabbi Elazar lekula. Kol gzera shavash in a mufne kol ikar lemeidin umashivin. Any gzera shava, Rabbi will say, that is not open at all, in other words, that the words are used for other things, you can make the limud, but the limud is easily refutable. Mufna mitzad echad. What if the gzera shava is open on one side and not on the other? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, the Meidivei Mashim, Rabbi Shmuel, ultimately again you can learn it, but you can't refute it. The Rabbanon lemeidin umashivin. According to the Rabbanon, ultimately again, if it's mufna mitzad echad, the limud is valid, but halacha l'maaseh can be refuted as well. Mufna mishnei tzadin. What happens if the gzera shava is open on two sides? Divrei hakol lemeidin ve'ein mashivin. Everyone agrees that ultimately what? Lemeidin, you can learn it, and it's irrefutable. Shabbos say here we're just in this version, we're just mixing up the opinions a little bit. So the Rabbanon according to the Rabbanon, what's the chilik then between a gzera shava that is mufna mitzad echad and one that is not mufna at all? Meaning each of them are refutable. Nafkamina heichad demishkachas la mufna mitzad echad v'she'ena mufna kol ikar. So the Gemara says v'lav lahai islei pircha v'lav lahai islei pircha shavkinan she'enan mufna kol ikar v'gamrinan mi mufna mitzad echad. So we'll say, so the Rabbanan will say that if you have a gzera shava that's not mufna at all and a gzera shava that's mufna mitzad echad, but there's not a pircha being asked on either one, you'll go with the one that is mufna mitzad echad as opposed to the one that's not mufna at all. Okay. Vahacha my pircha ika. So we'll say over here, what would be the pircha? What's the refutation we could ask ultimately on this gzera shava? Ika mishum de ika lamifrach mala adam shavose. So what on the pircha that we could ask ultimately again by dugim or by behema, what would be the pircha? Here's the simple. Even though I can make a gzera shava technically between adam and behema and between adam and taninim, what is the potential? What is the potential pircha? Mala adam shekim etame mechayim. Rabbi say here's the fundamental difference. Adam has the ability to what? To become tameh while he is alive. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Shekim etame mechayim mekabel tuma bechayov misharetz or mishar tumos. That ultimately, again, a person has the ability to be mekabel tuma while he's alive, either from a sharetz or from other tumas. Dinhu sheteheyol daso temeya leida. Tomar be'elu hilchach gabe dagim parchina le de mufna misad echadu aval gabe hema afak of the pircha lo parchina la homufnu mishnei. So we'll say that would be the pircha. The pircha is that Adam is different than anything else because Adam has the ability to become tummy while he's still alive. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan hainu time Rabbi Meir. So we'll say again we're giving additional source Rabbi Meir. Remember again, so Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah is telling me that halacha l'maisa. Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah disagrees with the Tanakama, right? And Rabbi Meir says that if it's not min adam, if what she's explaining doesn't look like a person, then she's not tamei tumas leida. So the Gemara says, "Hovenem Rabbi Yitzira ka-adam." Ultimately, again, since it says Yitzira ka-adam, Amar Rabbi Ami Alame Ata. So I'm sorry, this is different Rabbi Meir. This is Rabbi Meir over here who's saying that halacha l'maisa. So mapelas kamin behema will be tamei, but not mapelas kamin taninim. So what's the logic over here? Alame Ata. So why is it? What's the reason Rabbi Meir? Because by behema it says Yitzira like Adam. It says Yitzira by Adam. It says Yitzira by behema to tell me that what? That halacha l'maisa, if mapelas kamin behema, shall be tamei. To which the Gemara says, 1 second. Amar Rabbi Ami Elameata hamapeles demushar imo tamealeda. So we'll say if that's the case, if a woman expels something that looks like a mountain, she should also be tamealeda. Why? Shene'emar kihine yotzer harim ubore ruach. Because I will say the pasuk says, "Hine yotzara ubare ruach." So ultimately, again, meaning what? We find over in this pasuk in Amos that the Navi uses lashon of yitzira by a har. So it says yitzira by a har, yitzira by an adam. So if she's mapelas kamin har, she should also go ahead and be tamei tumas leda. To which the Gemara says, okay, but amar le har mika mapelas. A woman can't exactly expel something that looks like a mountain. The most she's going to expel is what? Evan, he de kamapelas. At most, she'll expel something that looks like a rock, not like a mountain, and that's not called a har, rather hahu gush ikri. We'll say that's called a gush, right? That's called a mound. That will not be called a mountain. So, meaning, even if your gezerah shava is technically correct, at the end of the day, the mitzias is such that it's never going to actualize. So we'll say, so again, using your logic, that you can make a gezerah shava of yitzira to adam, and therefore anytime you make a gezerah shava should be tamei tumas leda. If a woman expels wind, and I will say, remember again, ruach is the lashon that we use for what? For anything essentially that is not a pregnancy. Not a pregnancy, and it might not even have all that much mamashas to it. Nevertheless, she should be tamei. Why? Hoyel v'ne'em rabo bria ki adam. We'll say because by ruach it says bria. Tichsiv ubore ruach. Pasuk says, we'll say bore ruach. It's the same pasuk in Amos. V'chitema lav mufne. Maybe you'll say, well, that's not open for gezerah shava. Why? I mean, havnei lemichtav yotzer harim v'ruach uksiv ubore ruach. Shmamina la'afnuye. So we'll say the fact that the pasuk goes ahead and could have said Yotzer Harim Viruach, could have said God creates mountains and wind, but instead it says Yotzer Harim Ubore Ruach. That extra bore is an extra word. It's open for drasha purposes. Why not make a gezerah shava between Ruach and Adam and say just like she's tamei tumas leda if she expels a human form, she'll be tamei if she expels Ruach. To which the Gemara says Amarlei. Danin divrei Torah midivrei Torah, ve'in danin divrei Torah midivrei Kabbalah. Both said to which the Gemara gives a very interesting answer. That we're going to go ahead and learn out biblical concepts, ultimately again from biblical sources, meaning from Torah. But we're not going to go ahead and learn out biblical concepts, ultimately again from divrei Nevi'im. Divrei Kabbalah in this context means the Navi. Good. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Arachana, both say, Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph, second wide line. Amar Rabbi Arachana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. How many times Rabbi Meir? Both say, what's Rabbi Meir's logic? Yehoil ve'einehem domos kishal adam. The reason why, if she's mapil, something that looks like a behema, ultimately what? She's going to be tamei tumas leda, is ultimately again because an animal's eyes resemble human eyes. Okay, look at Rashi for just a moment. Hoil ve'einehen shal chaya ve'behema domos l'shal adam. Shachar sheba'ayin hava agul kebehema bebehema kishal adam. Aval dedogim lav agulhu. So we'll say, so it's about the pupil, right? The pupil of the eye of a behema is round, just like the pupil of a human being, and therefore there's this commonality, as opposed to ultimately again dogim, which do not have that same type of pupil, and therefore again she'll be tamei tumas leda for a behema, but not for dogim. So the Gemara says, Elameata hamapelas demos nachash te imo tamei leda. So if that's the case, that it's about the pupil. So if she miscarries and looks like a snake, she should also be tamei tumas leda. Why? Hoil v'galgal ino agula kishal adam. So apparently the pupil of the eye of a snake is round like the pupil of an eye of a person. So maybe you'll say that's correct, and that if she's mapil something that looks like a nachash, ultimately, again, she should be tamei tumas leda. So the Gemara says, why not listen nachash? Why did you include nachash in the Mishnah? To which the Gemara says, itana nachash hava amina ben nachash hu dupligi rabban alei Rabbi Meir delok siv be yitzira. Because it will say, ultimately, again, if it would have said nachash, I would have thought that's the case in which the Rabbanan argue in Rabbi Meir. Why? Because it will say, by nachash, there's no lashon of yitzira. Aval behema v'chaya lo pligi dichsiva beyitzira. But by behema and chaya, they don't argue because it says yitzira. Therefore, in order to avoid that erroneous conclusion, the Torah doesn't state nachash, rather it states chaya and behema. But one second it says, v'hagabi mumin katanila. But yet, Rabbi say in the realm of mumin, right? Ultimately, again, when it comes to mumin, we spoke about this, and what did we say? Es shagalgal eino agul kishal adam. Rabbi say in the list of mumin. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Gabe mumin tanila kilamar heichi amrit da'ayin behema domala adam v'ha gabe mumin habachar. Rabbi say in the list of mumin by a bachar, by a firstborn animal, one of the mumin that's stated is what? Es shagilgal eino agul kishal adam. If the animal has a round eye like a human eye, that is a mum, which tells us that what? That is not the normal derech of an animal to have a round eye like people. Yet you're just saying before that that is the derech, and that's actually the reason for the gzeira shava. To which the Gemara says, no, lo kash, talking about two different things. Haba uchma, haba tzira. To which the Gemara will say two things. Rashi says, uchma is shachar sheba'ayin. That refers to the pupil, right? That's the black in the eye. That's round. And that's round in animals like it's round in people. So what's the mum? V'hadetani dehave mum bitsiri or bitsira makom mosha v'ayin. I will say that's the socket. The socket, the eye socket is round, but ultimately, again, by an animal, the eye socket is not round. So that's the mum. I will say if an animal has an eye socket that resembles a human eye socket, that's the mum. But the eye itself is always round like an adam. So also remember again, all of this are trying to figure out what's the svara to say that if a woman is mapil something that looks like a behema, she's going to be tamei tumas leida. And if it's true that if she's mapil kimin behema, she's tamei tumas leida, then why only behema? Why not other things as well? So we're trying to show ultimately in these different opinions as to the nature of the commonality between people and behemoths. There's a lot to speak about on that Inyan, but here we're trying to figure out again legabe tumas leida why there would be this connection. So we'll say over here it's because of the similarity of the people of the eyes. Good, Rabbi. And we'll say remember again, everything is rooted in a gzeira shava. That's where this comes from. It's all about the gzeira shava. We're trying to figure out from a svara perspective what is it that links animals and people to more than ultimately, let's say, people and some other creation. Rabbi Yana, Amar Hainu Tam Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yana says, what's Rabbi Meir's logic? Holo they name holchos if name kishal adam. So we'll say, so the other reason is because animals, their eyes, holchos lifneim. Rashi says, la fuke dogim deinem bisideim. So we'll say animals have their eyes in front, just like people, as opposed to other creatures. He says, for example, fish, which may have their eyes on the side. Animals and people have their eyes on the front. V'hare of. What about birds? The ein of holchos lefanov. So birds don't have eyes, quote unquote, in the front. To which and yet Rabbi Meir holds that if she's mapil kamin tzipor, kamin of, she's tamea. Amra Abaye, no, bekarya vikifufa. Ultimately, again, it's talking about karik. Rashi says, of hatzoi balayla, upanav domos lechatul, ve'in of lefanav. So I don't know what type of birds these are, but the karin kifufa apparently are types of birds that have eyes in the front. So that when Rabbi Meir says, ultimately, that's what? That when, I'm sorry? An owl. An owl. Good. Good, excellent, good. Okay, anyone else? Good. Owl, good. So we'll say karya and kifufa. So we'll say a spotted owl. Okay, is that North American or okay? Good, excellent. So we'll say thank you. So we'll say so what we have over here is as follows. So the Gemara is giving us a very limiting idea, which is that when we say that the bird that if she's mapil kimin of, that it's tmeya, that ultimately again it's actually a very specific type of bird, only the type of bird, ultimately again with eyes in the front. Ubishar ofos lo. So you can tell me then that ultimately again with other ofos, if she's mapil, it looks like some other of, i.e. a type of of that doesn't have the eyes in the front, then she will not be tmeya. Meisvei, here's the problem with that. Rabbi Chanina ben Tignas Omer, Nirin de Rabbi Meir, bebehema v'chaya. Rabbi Meir's opinion seems to be correct. Ultimately, again, when it comes to behema and chaya, v'divrei chachamim ba'ofos, and we'll follow the chachamim, i.e. that she won't be tamei tumas leida when it comes to ofos. My ofos, we'll say what ofos are we referring to over here? Ilema bekaria vikifufa. If you want to say it's with these specific type of birds that have their eyes in the front. Maishna behema v'chaya de'einen hochos lefnehen kishal adam karya v'kifufa nami. So we'll say if that's the case again, if you're going to tell me that the unique aspect of behema and the linkage between behemoths and adam is the fact that both of them have their eyes in front, so why would you exclude birds that have their eyes in front as well? To which the Gemara says, "Ela pshita b'shar ofos." Rather, again, when they say that she is not tamei tumas leida, if she expels something that looks like an oaf, it's talking about other birds. Michlad Rabbi Meir Palik, which will say sounds like Rabbi Meir argues even in that case as well. Sorry, Michlad Rabbi Meir Palik b'shar ofos, which makes it sound like Rabbi Meir argues even in other birds. That Rabbi Meir would hold that Allah Chalamaisa, even if she expels something that looks like other birds being even birds that don't have their eyes in the front, she would still be tamei. To which the Gemara says, this exchange is missing a vital piece, and here's how you have to explain it. Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus, Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus says, Nirin div Rabbi Meir behema v'chaya. Rabbi Meir's position, Rabosai, is clear when it comes to behema and chaya. That if she expels something that looks like a behema or chaya, she will be tamei tumas leida. V'hu adin lekarya v'kifufa. And Rabbi Meir would agree in the case of a bird, karya v'kifufa, that in that type of bird which has its eyes in front, that she would be tamei tumas leida. V'divrei chachamim b'shar ofos. By father chachamim in the realm of other birds that do not have their eyes in front but have their eyes on the side. Have their eyes in. Have their eyes in on the side. That halacha l'maisa would not go ahead and be tamei tumas leida if she expels something that looked like them. Shaf Rabbi Meir lo nechla kimayim ela bekarya v'kifufa aval b'shar ofos modilahu. Because we'll say even Rabbi Meir does not disagree in general with birds that have their eyes on the side. He only disagrees with what? With birds that have their eyes in the front, that therefore resemble people. Again, the Rabbi Meir would say, just like chaya and oaf, if she expels something that looks like them, she is tamei because they resemble human beings in the aspect of the eyes. So too, if she expels something that's like a karya v'kifufa, birds that have their eyes in front, she'll also be tamei tumas leida. But if she expels any other type of oaf, look like any type of oaf, she will not be tamei. So the Gemara says, Vatanya, but we learned, Amar Lazar Tzadok, Hamapeles min behema v'chaya. If a woman expels something that looks like a min behema v'chaya, what's that law? Different Rabbi Meir, Vlad. According to Rabbi Meir, ultimately again, it is a Vlad, which means she's tamei tumas leida. Or divrei chachamim ain't a Vlad, but according to the chachamim, ultimately again, it's not a Vlad. Uba ofos tibadek. And also when it comes to ofos, you have to check what was expelled. To which the Gemara says, Laman tibadek. What does that mean? According to who? Ultimately, again, are we checking? So the Gemara says, Laman tibadek, lav di Rabbi Meir, damakarya v'kifufa in, shar ofos lo. We'll say it must be that it means we're checking according to Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir will say, if what? If she expels something that looks like a bird, what's her status? It depends. What does it depend on? What does the Vlad look like? If the Vlad looks like karya v'kifufa, i.e. eyes in front, she'll be tamei tumas leida. But if it looks like a different type of bird, she will be tahora. Amar Rav Acha Breid Rav Ika. Lo, so the Gemara says, Amar Rav Acha Breid Rav Ika. Lo, tibadik l'Rabbanon. To which the Gemara says, he says no, it means you have to check the Vlad according to the Rabbanon. The Amri, karya v'kifufa in, shar ofos lo. Umayshna karya v'kifufa mi behema v'chaya, hoil v'yesh lahen listos ki adam. So we'll say, interestingly enough, now in this suggestion, the Gemara is going to suggest that according to the Rabbanan, it could be that the Rabbanan would agree. Listen to this. The Rabbanan who argue Rabbi Meir, and the Rabbanan who generally say, the Chachamim would generally say, that if she is ma'apach like a chaya and behema, she's tahora, would agree in the case of karya v'kifufa that she would be tameya. Why? The Gemara says, Hoel v'yeshan lestos ka'adam. Because it will say it's actually very interesting. So apparently, again, when it comes to karya v'kifufa, they have cheeks. Listos literally are cheeks like a person. So according to the Rabbanan, interestingly enough, the karya v'kifufa seem to be the type of birds that halacha l'may... Does it work with the owl? It's an owl. Good. So we'll say, so again, apparently the owl has cheeks as well, right? So again, because apparently what the Rabbanan are saying is that the face of the owl apparently most resembles a human face. So this is actually, according to this interpretation, actually quite fascinating. So according to this interpretation, you see, up until now we've always been assuming that Rabbanan hold anything that doesn't look like a human, ultimately again is Tahora. The Shaila has been in Rabbi Meir. We know Rabbi Meir holds Chaya and Behema. If she's mapus and looks like an animal, she's Tameya. Birds has been the point of contention of Rabbi Meir. Does Rabbi Meir hold all birds, no birds, some birds? So now we kind of settled on Rabbi Meir holds Karya Vikifufa is Tamea. Why? Because their eyes are in front. They're both saying in this version we're totally mixing it up. In this version, Rabbi Meir is going to hold ultimately again Behema, Chaya, oh good. The Rabbanan who normally hold that it has to be a human form in order for her to be Tamea. Well, the one exception to that rule will be if she expels something that looks like a karya vikifufa. These birds. Why? Because apparently because these birds ultimately have cheeks and probably also the eyes are in front, therefore halacha l'maisa they look human-like, and therefore again even the Rabbanan will say that she'll be tamea. Pretty amazing. But I was an interesting Gemara. So I'll say Rabbi Meir asked Rabbi Zera the following question. Rabbi Meir de Amar Behema b'may isha Vlad ma'al yahu. So listen to this fascinating question. Rabbi Yirmiyah asking Rabbi Zera. According to Rabbi Meir, who holds that a Behema b'may isha, which means we'll say what? That if a woman is carrying a fetus that looks like a Behema, we'll say, so what's the halacha? Vlad ma'al yahu. Ultimately, again, this is a proper vlad. According to Rabbi Meir Bosai, again, this is a bona fide vlad. V'haraya, when the baby's born, what's the status of the mother? She's tamei tumas leida. Also, listen to this. Kibel ba avia kiddushin mahu. What happens if the father accepted kiddushin on behalf of the fetus? Now, remember, you can't accept kiddushin on behalf of a fetus, but what it's saying over here is that when the fetus is born, when the kiddushin will be chal. So the father makes arrangements. This is the answer to the shidduch crisis, by the way, right? In utero betrothals, right? So again, halach l'maisa, the Gemara says, what happens if the father is makabel kiddushin for the fetus? If you want to say that even though it looks like a behema, ultimately again it's still a vlad. What else follows makabel kiddushin? So the Gemara says, I don't understand. What does that mean? Mau. L'may nafkamina. So the Gemara says, so we'll say, what exactly does this mean? So the Gemara, look at Rashi, we'll say for just a moment. Actually, not yet, I'm sorry. What will be the nafkamina? Because I will say, because we're assuming over here, by the way, that halacha l'maisa, that this fetus doesn't normally survive. So the Gemara says, "L'may nafkamina l'suri ba'achosa." So we'll say, I jumped that a bit. So we'll say, what would be the nafkamina over here? The nafkamina would be that if watch this. Let's say the father is makal b'kiddushin on behalf of the fetus, right? So the fetus is born. So what happens? What that would mean effectively is that what? The man who was Makadesh, the baby, now that the child, okay, let's make this easier. Ruvain's wife is pregnant with this behema fetus, right? So Ruvain is Makabal Kiddushin on behalf of the fetus. The fetus is born. We'll call it Shimon is the Makadesh. Shimon is the man. So what's nafkamina? The nafkamina will say that if the fetus has another sister, ultimately again Shimon would be usher to marry that sister, because that would be achos ishto. To which the Gemara says, "L'meimra dechaye." I will say this presupposes that this fetus lives. Right? I will say again. Remember, this whole discussion of a fetus that looks like a behema has always presupposed that what? The fetus dies. Right? The fetus dies. We're asking about tumas leida. So I'll say, you're going to tell me that it lives. So I'll say, yet Rabbi Yehuda is the name of Rav. That's what Rabbi Meir only darshan. It's actually very interesting. Rabbi Meir. This is really a fascinating distinction that we're going to focus on in just a bit. Rabbi Meir Rabosai, who says that when a woman gives birth, when a woman expels a fetus that is kamin behema, that she is tmeya, tumas leida, that is only in a situation, just follow this, where if the behema was carrying the fetus would have been viable. So just for example, a woman gives birth to a fetus that looks like a cow, right? So I will say, so Rabbi Meir says she's tamei tumas leida. When is she tamei tumas leida? That if a cow was carrying this fetus and the cow gave birth at the same time that the human mother did, the cow fetus would have been a healthy, viable fetus. That's when Rabbi Meir says that ultimately, again, the mother is Tamei Tumas Leida. So I will say, but the idea over here is this fetus is not surviving. This fetus is not living. So what's the whole question? So I will say, listen to this. Ella, Hoyel Ubamino Miskayim. See what the Gemara says. So what's the question over here? I will say, this is an incredible Gemara. Amar Vacha Bar Yaakov, Ad kan hevir Rabbi Yirmiyah l'Rabbi Zera lidei gichuch v'lo gochich. I will say, the truth is what was happening over here. Rabbi Yirmiyah was trying to give Rabbi Zera a little bit of a laugh. This was an attempt at Beis Medrash humor. So as we all know, Beis Medrash humor often falls short. Right? So I'll say, so over here, so Rabbi Yirmiyah was trying to make Rabbi Zera laugh a little bit. So he was asking him, ultimately, again, this ridiculous question about being Makabel, right? What do you think about this, right? Being Makabel Kiddushin on behalf of the Behema fetus inside of a human mother. So I'll say, but the Gemara says, didn't work. Ultimately, again, Rabbi Zera did not laugh. Rabbi say, if you take a look at Rashi, it's actually quite amazing. Rashi lidei gichuk schok. So Rabbi Yirmiyah wanted to make Rabbi Zera laugh. He wanted to make him laugh. Bechol tachbulos halalu asak Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah went through all of these tachbulos, right? This whole mental exercise. Havi Rabbi Zera lidei schok velo sacha. But Rabbi Zera didn't laugh. Rabbi say, why didn't Rabbi Zera laugh? Well, number one, it's not funny. But number two, right? He says, the aser la adam shi male piv schok. Rabbi Zera machmir tfei. So we'll say this is incredible. That there's an element of a concept that a person should not be mamali piv b'schok. A person don't be a letz, right? Don't be a letz. So there are some people who spend so much time with leitzanos, with silliness, with foolishness. And a person has to be careful. Not Rabbi Zera was very machmir with this. Rabbi Zera was very machmir not to engage in any form of leitzanos. So what's happening over here is something amazing. Rabbi Yirmiyah essentially felt that he's got to lighten up a little bit, right? You have to lighten up. You can't always be so serious. But apparently Rabbi Zera said, yes, I can, right? So it's just one of these incredible exchanges over here. And I'll say, understand, if we had more time, there's so much in this because we have this concept of asr the adam shi mali schok piv, right? Or piv schok. Person can't fill his mouth with schok. And I'll say, there's a place for laughter, but not a place for silliness and foolishness and constant leitzanos. That balance of seriousness but happiness, right? That balance between seriousness and ultimately, again, the ability to laugh. You see that Chazal often struggle with this. So whatever the reason, I'm sure there's a backstory to it also, Rabbi Zera took a very hard stand on it and wouldn't laugh. Rabbi Yirmiyah felt he had to lighten up a little bit. Incredible. So the Gemara says as follows, Guf Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Lo Amar Rabbi Meir, Elo Hoil Ubamino Miskaim. So also remember again, we just gave a very important qualification to Rabbi Meir, which is a fascinating one, which is as follows. When Rabbi Meir says that if a woman is mapil kimin behema, that she's tamei tumas leida, that's when only if the same type of fetus, if carried by an animal, would have been a viable fetus. Then according to Rabbi Meir, when the human mother gives birth to it, even though it's not going to be into a viable fetus, the human mother will be tamei tumas leida. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yirmiyah, midifti, I'm a base. Midifti, af anan nami tanena. We also learn this as well. Hama pelis kimin behema chayiv of. If a woman expels, right, kimin chaya behema va'of. So, first of all, interestingly enough, you notice over here that we are going ahead and including oaf in this discussion as well. So the Gemara says that those three words, the words are erased according to the Agos Tzionim. So divrei Rabbi Meir. So we'll say ultimately again, if a woman is mapil min chaya behema and oaf, ultimately again she will be tameya. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says over there, Meir Reishum Seches Bechoros v'Hachi Katani Yesh Bechor LeNachala ve'Im Bechor LeKohen v'Kachoshi v'Azal Apelas Min Behema v'Chay v'Of Haba Acharav Bechor LeNachala the high love Bechorhu legabe Nachala D'Lochai. So it says we're going to see over here. We're going to discuss these halachos legabe inheritance. So we'll see in just a moment. Some Apelas come in Behema Chay v'Of Divrei Meir v'Chamim Omrim Ad Sheyehei Bo Mitzuras Adam. The Chachamim say that a birth is only a birth, ultimately, again, when it looks like a human being. So I just want to point out, according to Rabbi Meir, if a woman is mapil, behema, chaya, and oaf, haba acharav, that which comes after it, is bechor for nachala, bechor for inheritance, but not bechor for pidyon. So we'll say it's actually quite fascinating because we sometimes assume that the definition of firstborn for inheritance, i.e. Pishnayim, is the same definition as Bechor, ultimately for Piyun, for redemption. And what the Mishnah says over in Bechor is that we learn this, is that is not necessarily the case. You could have a situation of a Bechor who is a Peter Rechem for Pidyon Haben purposes, but is not a Bechor for Nachala purposes, for inheritance purposes. So for example, Meir says that if a mother expels a Behema Chaya and Oaf, that birth is a Bechor for Pidyon purposes. So that is the Petarachem. Therefore, any baby that comes after it ultimately will not be the Bechor, but that is not the Bechor for inheritance purposes. So if she's Mapil, let's say Behema Chayanof, or Behema Eichen, not all of the above, but one of the above, right? So both say, so therefore again, then she has a baby boy afterwards. That baby boy who was born is not the Bechor for Pidyon, so that baby does not need a Pidyon, but that baby boy will be the Bechor for Nachala. Chacham say, no. Any birth that doesn't look like a human being is not a birth. It's not a birth. It's not a birth for Pidyon, and it's not a birth ultimately for Nachala. V'hamapeles, sandal, oshalya, oshafir, merukam. So we'll say, but if a woman miscarries a sandal, now we'll say, sandal literally means a piece of flesh that doesn't look like a human being at all. Sandal literally means a shoe. She's just mapil, a piece of flesh. Oh, shalya, ultimately, and shalya means a placenta. Oh, shapir merukam, or ultimately, again, a developed fetus. Vayotze mechutach, or I will say, meaning human limbs come out. Right? So an intact entity does not come out, but human limbs are coming out. Haba acharav bechor lenachala. It's actually very interesting. So I will say, and therefore again, so in any of these cases where what's happening over here, there is either I will say there might be a human form, but it's not fully developed, or it's not fully intact, or it's just a piece of flesh. So this will be ultimately again Abba Acharav, the baby that comes after it will be the Bechar for Nachala. Right, so we'll get Pishtayim, but ultimately again is not the Bechar ultimately for Pidyon. So the Gemara says, so we'll say, so by the way, we'll see the logic for that in just a moment. Now, if you want to say that when a woman is Mapil Kimin Behema, that fetus lives, why would the baby who comes after it ultimately again be the Bechar for Nachala? Rava says the Olam Dechaye. The truth is, even if you want to say that if a woman is Mapil Kimin Behema, that fetus lives, I would still say that ultimately the child who comes after it ultimately is going to be the Bechar for Nachala, not why. V'shayni Hasan the Amakra Reishis oh no. I will say ultimately again when the pasuk speaks about Pishnayim, who gets Pishnayim? Reishis oh no. So we'll say, how do we darshan that? Now we translate that as the first of his seed. Mishalibo dava alav. I will say this would be the type of child, ultimately again, who the father would mourn for. Yosazeh she'in libo dava alav. This excludes the case of mapil kimin behema, where I will say ultimately again, even if you want to say it's alive at the time of birth, it is a non-viable birth. And therefore, again, this baby will die imminently, and therefore, again, there's no connection that is created between the father and the son, and therefore the father would not, quote unquote, mourn the loss. I will say, we're not talking about what people mourn or what people don't mourn. We're speaking about the development of relationship. That ultimately, again, only the type of child with whom the father has the capacity to develop a relationship is ultimately, again, the child who is the Bechar for Nachala. But this type of fetus, even if it's able to survive a little bit, has absolutely no longevity, and therefore, again, Allah Chalamaisa, there's no connection. Because there's no connection, there's no Pishnai for Nachala. So the Gemara says as follows. So also if you look at Rashi, Mishalibo Davalav, Leiv Aviv Misabel Amoso, Hu Dechashiv Ben Le'inyan Nachala. Good. So just so you understand that these halachas are actually quite interesting, because this actually does come up in a case, not necessarily in these extreme cases when Pelskam and Behema, I will say comes up in the realm of miscarriages. Right? If a woman, Rahman al has a miscarriage, so depending on when she miscarries, depending on how far along she may be, so ultimately, again, that may pater the child who comes afterwards from Pidyon Ben, from Bechar. But that child may still be ultimately what? The Bechar for Nachala. So you could easily have circumstances where a baby, a son may be the Bechar for inheritance purposes, but is not the Bechar for pidyon purposes. So also Rabbi asked Rabbi the following question. Let's listen to this interesting case. So it's really fascinating. So according to Rabbi Meir, who holds that behema b'may isha. So also, what does behema b'may isha means? That if a woman is carrying a fetus that looks like a behema. So we'll say, so ultimately what? According to Rabbi Meir, halacha l'maisa, that is a bona fide vlad. That's a vlad. That is a baby. And therefore, again, the mother would be tummy to masleda. So the Gemara said, listen to this. Adam b'may behema mai. We'll say, listen to this case. What happens if a behema is carrying a fetus that looks like a human being? What is the halacha? Now, we'll say, this is a wild case. So we'll say, so the Gemara says, Lamai nafkamina. The Gemara says, can I ask you, what does this matter? We'll say, watch this. Le'ishtaruye ba'achila. Can you eat it? Can you eat it? And I will say, now watch this. And I will say, now look at Rashi just a moment. Ada b'may behema, shachta, get ready for this. Shachta umatza bad demus adam. And I will say, what happens if you shech the behema, and inside the behema, you find a fetus, and the fetus looks like a human being. Mahu. So we'll say, do we say as follows? Remember again, Rabbi Meir holds that when a human mother has a fetus that looks like a behema, what's the halacha? Say, what's the status of the fetus? Right? It's like a human being. Right? If it's carried by a human mother, then it's a human baby. And therefore, again, she's tummy tumas lida when she births it. So do we say the same thing? That halacha l'maisa, if a fetus is carried by a behema, it's a behema. And even if it looks like a person, when you open up that animal and you find the fetus inside, halacha l'maisa, you'll be able to eat it. Yeah, good. The Gemara says, "V'tiv shot le'mi had Rabbi Yochanan." So the Gemara says, "Let's answer this ultimately from Rabbi Yochanan." What does Rabbi Yochanan say? Then Rabbi Yochanan will say an interesting case. Ha shochetes habehema umatzaba demus yona. Well, it's an interesting case. If you shech, this is a bit more digestible, right? You go ahead and you shech the behema, and what happens? You open it up and you find a fetus that looks like a bird, looks like a yona, a dove. So what's the halacha? We'll say asura ba'achila. Rabbi Yochanan holds that what? That halacha l'maisa, it is asur ba'achila. So we'll say, so before we even explain this, with B'pashas, it would mean that according to Rabbi Yochanan, the only time that the fetus of a behema is mutter with the shchita of its mother is when the fetus looks like the mother. But if the fetus doesn't look like the mother, so even in this case where you're shechting the animal, opening it up, the fetus looks like a behema, looks like a yona, looks like a bird. It's not mutter b'shchita simo. So certainly what? If you shech the behema, you open it up, and inside of it is a fetus that looks like a human baby, then halacha ma'aseh you won't be able to eat it. So the Gemara says not necessarily. Interestingly enough, haki ashta hasam lo parsos ika v'lo parsika. So you both say a bird does not resemble an animal at all. Why? Because we'll say not only does a bird not have split hooves, a bird doesn't have a heel. Right? A bird doesn't even have a heel to its foot. However, hacha nehi de parsos leka parsa miha ika. But human beings, right? A human baby, a human fetus, although it does not have split hooves, it does have what? It does have a heel. So in that respect, the human fetus would resemble an animal fetus more than a bird fetus resembles a human fetus. So I will say, so ultimately again, the Gemara doesn't resolve it. What to do according with, if you open up the animal and find a human fetus inside, I will say, remember, according to the Chacham, it's not such a shayla, but according ultimately again to Rabbi Meir, it's not clear exactly what to do with that. So I will say, if you remember again, in general, we saw this discussion back in Chulin, right? About what happens in general, in a more mild case than this, where you shech the mother, open it up, you find the fetus, and the fetus doesn't have simani kashrus. Remember, we saw this case, right? So what are you doing? So we saw machlokes. I don't remember what the halacha is in that case, but again, we saw that was even with an animal fetus. Here, the Gemara is asking of a human fetus, or it doesn't answer it. Good. Chacham the Chacham say kol shein bo. So also remember again, the Mishnah, the Chacham said any fetus that does not look like a human being, ultimately what? Does not render the mother tamei tumas leida. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar Rav hakol modim gufo tayish upanav adam. Well, this is an interesting case. Everyone agrees that if the body of the fetus is like a ram and the face is the face of a person, that's a person. Gufo adam upanav tayish, and if it has the body of a human being and the face of a ram, velo klum. Ultimately, again, such a fetus is nothing. Lo nechluku ela shapanav adam v'nivra ba'ayin achos kibehema. So we'll say ultimately what? So we'll say this is actually very interesting. So it's an incredible qualifier. So apparently, again, everyone agrees that if the face is a human face, even if the body is like an animal, that's called a human vlad, and therefore what? And therefore tamei tumas leida. Everyone agrees that if the face is the face of a ram, right, and the body of a human, that it's nothing. It's nothing. That's a behema. What's the machlokes? The machlokes is supposed to, interestingly enough, where the face resembles a person, but one of the eyes looks like an animal's eye. So we'll say, based on what we saw before, I guess what that would mean is the socket. The socket is misformed a little bit, and the socket looks more like the socket of a behema. She'emer Omer mitzuras adam, because Rabbi Meir says, as long as it resembles a person in some way, as long as there's some element of human resemblance, she'll be tamei tumas leida. V'chachamim omrim tsurasam. The chum say no. In order for it to be tamei tumas leida, what has to happen? It has to be fully tsuras adam. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba v'ha'ibcha Tanya. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, but we learned just the opposite. Rabbi Meir Omer kol tsuras. V'chachamim omrim mitzuras. Rabbi Meir says that in order ultimately again for the behemoth to be tameya, it has to fully resemble a person. And the Chachamim say, even if it partially resembles, so this is actually very interesting. So this is Rabbi Yirmiyah. What does Rabbi Yirmiyah say? Amar lahu, itanya, Tanya. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, fine. If that's your version, that's your version. I can't argue with that. I will say, by the way, it's such an incredible idea. Rabbi Meir says, if that's your truth, I can't argue on your truth. Rabbi say it's an incredible yisod in life. Sometimes you get into arguments with people, and when talking to a person about an issue, the first thing you have to ask yourself is the person actually open to hearing what you have to say? If the person already has their established truth, and that's right, kitanya, tanya, then the truth is there's no need to argue. So ultimately, again, they said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, not Rabbi Yirmiyah. They said Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, we have an opposite version of this teaching. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says, okay, if that's your truth, if that's your Masorah, ki Tanya. Good. I will say now we'll have to stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Miras Hashem with this next piece tomorrow. I'm going to record the Parsha thought in Miras Hashem after davening.